Okay, one of the things the Pythagorean theorem allows you to do is it'll allow you to find the distance between 2 points on a graph. And we can do this when we're looking at a graph, and we can also do it when we're not looking at a graph. If we're looking at a graph, then the first thing that you're wanting to do is you're going to want to go ahead and draw yourself a right triangle. And by drawing a right triangle, I mean we're either going to go, I could draw my right triangle like this, go over and then up. If I don't want to go that way, I don't have to. I can draw it the other way too. I can go up and over, but I want to make sure that I'm going straight up and straight across. We don't want to draw any crazy weird shapes. Then all we have to do is really just count. We're just going to count how long this leg is. I got 3 sides now, and the distance that you're going to try and find is always going to be the C side. So here's my C side. The question is, how far apart are these 2 points? And if I want to count up and I want to count across, this of course is a 90-degree angle. And we'll count up 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's 5 units. And then over here is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So that right there is 8 units apart. And the question is, how long is C? And then we just go right to our formula. So we'll go a squared plus b squared equals c squared. And this looks a lot like problems from 12.1. I'm going to go ahead and let this be a, and I'll let the 8 be c, or I'm sorry, b. So 5 squared plus 8 squared equals c squared, and then this will be 25 plus 64 equals c squared, and that's going to be 89 equals c squared, and that's an irrational number. It's not a perfect square, so we'll take the square root of both sides. We'll jump over to the calculator, and we'll get an answer for c. So you can see now I've put the Desmos calculator side by side. We're going to go ahead and take the square root of 89, and we're going to get 9.4. So we'll round that off to the nearest tenth. We don't want all those decimals. So the distance between those 2 points is 9.4. At this point, we will call those units. Let's go ahead and take a look at this next problem. It doesn't matter, again, it doesn't matter how you draw the right triangle. If you're looking at 2 points on a graph, just make sure you're going straight across and straight down, or straight up. That's straight across, and that point kind of misses. So I'm going to take that line off and I'll redraw it again. That's a little bit better. And all we got to do is count again. So we're going to count. There's our right triangle. I'm always looking when I'm trying to find the distance. It's going to always be that C. And so let's go ahead and let this be A, and we'll let this one be B. And all we got to do is count. So from A over, starting there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Go ahead and check your counting with me. And then down is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So there we go. We're going to go right to our formula. Let's go find C. A squared plus b squared equals c squared. And 5 squared plus 9 squared equals c squared. And so that's 25 plus 81. And at this point, I'm going to show you something else. The last step, of course, is to take the square root. If you want to be even a little extra lazy, we don't have to add the 25 and the 81. I'll go ahead and pull that calculator up. I'll take it away in a second. Let me clear this. I'll go hit the square root button, and I'm going to go ahead and just put inside there 25 plus 81. Notice it's adding it up for me in the square root, under the square root, and it's 10.29. So we're going to round that off to 10.3. So this one is C equals 10.3 units, and you always just check and make sure that since it's C, that it better be longer than the other 2 sides put together. Let's go ahead and take a look at another scenario. What if I don't have a graph and I'm still asked to try and figure out how far apart are these 2 things? We have to ask 2 questions. One, we want to know how far apart the x coordinates are, and the x's, those are our first numbers. So that 5, I guess I kind of darkened that a little too much. That's our x, and that's also our x. And I know that from 5 to 9 on a number line, those 2 numbers are 4 apart. And the next one is 2 and 6. Those are my y numbers, the second numbers. And I know that the distance from 2 to 6 is also 4 units. and we have what's called the distance formula. So the distance formula is going to equal the square root of, and then we're going to take x squared and y squared and add them up. Well, there's my x squared, and this is my y squared. And I know that the distance of the distance equals the square root. 4 squared is 16 plus 16, and that's the square root of 32. And all I have to do now is go down to my calculator and figure that much out. And let's take the square root of 32, and we get 5.65. So that's going to be 5.7 if I round that off correctly, 5.7 units. I'm not going to write the word units. We'll just call it 5.7. Those two things are 5.7 apart. Let's take a look at this second problem here. I threw a negative in there. And if we want to know how far apart the x coordinates are, I need to know how far apart a -3 and a 2 are. And if you can picture a number line, -3 is all the way out here, and then there would be a -2 and a -1 and then 0. And you can see that in order for me to get from -3 all the way out to 2, I would have to jump 5 units. So my x's are 5 apart. My y's, both of those are positive, so 5 and 8 are 3 apart. And my distance is going to be the square root of 5 squared plus 3 squared. So that's my x squared plus y squared. We can go ahead and even be a little bit lazy again. If we want to throw the calculator up here, we'll clear all this. And if I just take the square root of 5 squared plus 3 squared, I'm using that a squared button, and you can see that it's 5.83. So we'll go back over here, and my distance is 5.8 units. We're going to go ahead and round that off to the nearest tenth. This time I'll go ahead and write the word units. And there you go. That's how you use the distance formula if you have coordinates and you don't have a graph.